Yo, what is up guys? Ethan here back in another video, and today we're going to be talking about the most overrated teams for this upcoming college football season. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Also share the video. That also helps me out. So, if you watched my last video, we talked about the most underrated teams for this college football year. If you haven't checked that video out, go check it out. I would really appreciate it. But today we're going to be talking about the most overrated teams. Now, before I hop in, I have to say something. Even though they're overrated does not mean I think they are bad. I just think that people are just overpraising them. For example, our first team, North Carolina. And I think this is a pretty obvious one to some college football fans. And I'll be honest, I think North Carolina is going to win that ACC Coastal Division this year. I really do. But when people are praising this team and saying that they're a lock top 10 team, that's just crazy in my opinion. It's a very similar situation to Oklahoma State. However, Oklahoma State has way more depth than North Carolina. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with Oklahoma State, it's either you have superstars, stars, or trash players. You do not have any in-between players that are just average. Your superstars mainly carry the team. Oklahoma State has Spencer Sanders. North Carolina has Sam Howell. Your wide receivers, you have Tylan Wallace. And here for North Carolina, instead of having a good running back and a wide receiver like at Oklahoma State, North Carolina has two phenomenal wide receivers in Daz Newsome and Damani Brown. Now, I do think Oklahoma State's offensive line is better, but this North Carolina team is playing out overrated. And in this segment, I'm not trying to compare them to Oklahoma State this entire segment, but this defense is really good. Well, it's okay. Chaz Surratt, former quarterback, switched to linebacker. He had a phenomenal year last year, entering his senior year. And I think the main reason why they're so overrated is how well that Mac Brown has done for the Tar Heels in recruiting. You also have to remember, these recruitings are basically this year, but the majority is for next season. The majority of the players that we are hearing are not even going to be playing this year. And that is the main reason why this North Carolina team is so overrated. Now, I do think they are a top 15 team, but when you say they are a lock at that top 10 spot, I have to disagree with you. And that is it for this North Carolina segment. Our second team that's overrated, man, I just had a bad experience with them, and I think you know this video. If you watch my videos, I think you know this team's coming. Texas A&M is number 2. This team is so overrated. People are saying they are a top 10 lock. Man, in my preseason top 25, they were number 10. The team's good, but when people are saying they're top 8, I say no. I personally think 10 is probably going to be the highest they could be in the polls this year. That's just my opinion, though. Kellen Mond has not improved last year. I don't think he's going to do he's not going to improve the majority this year. Jimbo Fisher has done nothing with this Texas A&M team. Your defense took a big hit losing your star Justin Matabuke for your defensive line. Some of your wide receivers declared for the NFL draft. You really haven't figured out that key running back situation yet. I do think their running back is going to be better this year, but you haven't found that immediate number 1 starter yet. And there's so many glaring holes with this Aggies team. I don't understand why they're so praised. I know that they're in the SEC. I know it. But if they were in the ACC, they would be up for competitions with this North Carolina team. And it's only because Texas A&M has a huge fan base and they're in the SEC. If Texas A&M was in a conference like the Pac-12 or any other Power 5 conference, really, they would just be considered around that 15-16 spot. But since they're in the SEC and that fan base is huge, they are automatically top 8. that's how I view it, in my opinion at least. You can have your opinion, but I think Texas A&M going into this year is so overrated. That's just my opinion, though. The number 13 is going to be probably a question mark to some, and I have Virginia. Now, people are saying Bronco Mendel is going to be a good coach for this Virginia team. I don't think Virginia is going to be a bowl team this year. People are saying they're going to go 6-6, 7-5. They're going to pull off an upset this year. I do think Virginia is capable to pull off an upset, but I don't think they're going to be a bowl team this year. Bryce Perkins and Joe Reed, Bryce Perkins was such a main piece of that offense. It's going to be super hard to either switch your offense to something else, or it's going to be harder to find a guy like Bryce Perkins that can lead that Virginia team. Because Virginia is a basketball school, not a football school. It's going to be super hard to get a player like Bryce Perkins to replace. And it's probably also going to take a year or two to figure out a new system for that offense. Now, I do think your defense actually will be improved with Snowden as your linebacker. I think he's underrated. But besides Snowden, I think everything that Virginia's football team has been talked about is a tad overrated, so I had to throw him onto this list. Number 4, this is a team I did not want to put on here, and that's Iowa State. Now, here's it's a really weird situation with Iowa State, as I do think their team, I'm not going to say team, I think their players are underrated. But I think as a team and how people are praising them to be, they are a tad overrated. They're probably the least overrated team on this list, in my opinion, as I think Brock Purdy's a great quarterback. I think Charlie Collier is a great tight end. And I think the main reason why I think they're overrated is that defense. That defense, actually for the last team as well, their offense is just fantastic. I mean, fantastic. But if you look at the defense, their defense is just terrible. The next team is going to be an even worse situation, but this Iowa State team has great coaching, led by Matt Campbell. Underrated, one of the most underrated coaches in all of college football. Brock Purdy, probably a first or second round pick in this upcoming NFL draft. But that defense at Iowa State someone has to step up, in my opinion, for them not to be overrated. And the last team I do want to talk about is Louisville. And just basically everything that I said about Iowa State, make that offense 2 times more elite and make that defense 2 times worse. Going into this year, I was a big fan of Louisville, as I think they're going to come out and do fantastic. But they're only overrated because they're saying this team is going to be easily top 25. And I think they are now, because the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-12, and the Mountain West are not here anymore. But let's just say those teams are in. People are saying Louisville is a guaranteed top 25 team. They had the worst team defense in the ACC last year. And they barely did anything in recruiting. I think you got 1 4-star linebacker, and that's it for what you did on defense. That offense is phenomenal. I think Cunningham's a great running quarterback. Hassan Hall and Javion Hawkins, great running backs. Tutu Atwell, one of the most underrated wide receivers in all of college football. But that defense in specific, that defense has to step up. And that is the main reason why Louisville is on this overrated list. Even though I like them as a team, I think they're overrated. So that is it for my most overrated teams for this upcoming college football season. In your opinion, which teams do you think do not belong on a list? What teams do you think should be on the list? And yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, and like always, have a good day. Peace out.